What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel. And as I'm currently recording this video, it is the start of week 4 of the 2024-2025 NFL season. And it's crazy to think that we're already almost a quarter of the way through the season, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So let's just get right to it. The first thing that I want to talk about is sort of rewinding to week 3 a little bit, because I want to talk about that Monday Night Football game between the Washington Commanders and the Cincinnati Bengals. And I want to talk about it in particular on the side of the Commanders, because I think Jayden Daniels has clearly been the most impressive rookie quarterback of that very talented 2024 class, more so than Caleb Williams and obviously Drake May and Michael Penix Jr., who have both not even really played that much. In Penix's case, not at all. Drake May has played a little bit, but if you look at what Jayden Daniels did on Monday against the Bengals, highest completion percentage for a rookie in a game of all time, 91%. He broke a record that Dak Prescott set in his rookie season 2016 of 88%. And when you look at what he did, making throws all over the place, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a rushing touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns, and he beat a Bengals team that was really playing for its season at that point, because now they're 0-3 and they have so many questions on their team as to whether or not they're even going to make the playoffs. They had problems all offseason trying to get Joe Burrow healthy and with Jamar Chase's contract situation. So now the Bengals are just a team that a lot of people thought they were going to be good this year, myself included. They were actually my preseason pick to go to the Super Bowl for the AFC, and there's still a lot of season left, so I don't know if I'll completely back off it yet, but it's looking very, very bad in Cincinnati right now. And when you look at what the Commanders have done this season, they just got their second win of the year, so they're 2-1 on the season. Week 1, they got blown out by Tampa Bay, and Jayden Daniels was okay in that game. Didn't really do anything super great, didn't do anything super bad either. But then when you look at what they did in week 2 against the Giants, they won the game and didn't score a single touchdown. They scored 21 points off of 7 field goals from their kicker, and then obviously they go into Cincinnati and embarrass the Bengals on Monday Night Football. And through 3 games into the season, Jayden Daniels has 664 yards, 5 total touchdowns, and only 2 turnovers, which are 2 fumbles. So 0 interceptions from the quarterback spot, which is absolutely amazing. And it looks like the Commanders and their fans finally have the franchise quarterback that they've been looking for. Kirk Cousins gave them some great seasons, a few great seasons in Washington, even took them to the playoffs one time. And then obviously Robert Griffin III, RG3, had an incredible rookie season, and his career in Washington was kind of already out the door due to injuries and disagreements with Mike Shanahan. But it looks like under Dan Quinn now, the new head coach of the Commanders, Jayden Daniels, and they're starting to sort of figure things out too. And when you look at how good Daniels has been playing, I think one guy this benefits a lot is Terry McLaurin, who had 4 receptions for 100 yards in the game and just 2 amazing catches on 2 great throws. The first one, I think it was 55 yards, put the Bengals up inside Cincinnati's 5-yard line. Jayden Daniels just dropped it right in there, and McLaurin made a great catch. And then the second one that he caught was the Bengals were trying to get a stop and force the Commanders to kick a field goal, and Jayden Daniels just launched it to the end zone on 3rd down, and McLaurin came up with it, and that was a touchdown that really put the game away. So McLaurin finally looks like he has a quarterback that he can rely on to get him the ball. He's had guys like Taylor Heineke back there who gave him some good games every now and then, but just was never really consistent enough. And when I look at Jayden Daniels through his first couple of games, his long college experience is playing off. He played in college for 5 years. Everybody likes to joke about how he was playing against guys like Justin Herbert in college and about how he played with guys like Brandon Ayuk, who have been in the league for a bit now. But he's an experienced guy, and he came into the league with a lot of poise, and it's really paying off so far. And the Commanders also did something that's very historic. 2 games in a row with 0 turnovers and 0 punts. So they've been very efficient on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Jayden Daniels and his season is going to progress. So far, because it usually is a quarterback award, he should be the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Caleb Williams, I think he still has some stuff to prove. There's still a lot of season left for him too, so maybe he can turn it around. I do think he played better in the game against the Indianapolis Colts, even though they lost. And then obviously the other QBs, like I said, May and Penix, are just not getting enough burn to put up the stats to even compete for that award. And then Malik Neighbors is a guy who's been very good as a rookie this year, had a great game against the Browns, a spectacular end zone toe tap catch. If you guys haven't seen that, I can actually put it in here, or you guys can just look it up. Great receiver, but the quarterback situation in New York is just abysmal. Daniel Jones is just not it at QB, and I think he's going to suffer from that ultimately because he won't have the stats to be able to compete for that award either. And then another guy who's actually been very good, I think he's injured right now, is Chargers tackle Joe Alt. He's been very good this year. Had a great game against Max Crosby in week 1, and he's just been a very good rookie so far for the Chargers out of Notre Dame, I believe. So, yeah, lots of great rookies doing their thing right now, but if I had to pick my offensive rookie of the year today, I think it would obviously have to go to Jayden Daniels because of how consistent he's been for Washington, even though his stats might not be as eye-popping as some other rookies that have won the award in the past. And so the next thing that I want to move on to is the MVP discussion. We're only 3 games completed fully for every team into the season, but there's one guy that's just been playing amazing football so far, and that's Josh Allen of the Bills. And so when you look at what the Bills did this offseason, they traded Stephon Diggs to the Texans. They decided to end that experiment, even though Diggs was one of the most productive receivers in the league when he was on the Bills. Him and Josh Allen definitely made a great duo, but there was tension between them on the sidelines a lot, especially during the playoffs, and so the Bills decided to ultimately move on from him. And the Texans have been doing pretty good. They did get blown out by Minnesota last week, but Stephon Diggs is a great player, and his time ran out in Buffalo, but it really hasn't impacted Josh Allen at all because when you look at his stats through 3 weeks, he's first in QBR with 92. His passer rating is 133, 634 passing yards, 7 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdowns, so 9 total touchdowns. He's just been flat out amazing through the first 3 weeks of the season. And when you look at who he beat the Cardinals in week 1, the Jets, no, not the Jets, it was Miami in week 2, and then they just beat the Jaguars on Monday Night Football, scored 47 points. And obviously the opponents aren't the greatest, not the toughest teams to beat, but Josh Allen has just been really good through these first 3 weeks of the season, and he, I think, has solidified himself as the clear MVP frontrunner because the Bills' offense is averaging 37 points per game through the first 3 weeks, by far and away the most in the league, and he's doing it without a clear number 1 wide receiver. You look at Keon Coleman, who they took in the draft, they eventually expect him to blossom into that number 1 guy, but he's not at a level like Stephon Diggs was for them over the past few years. And so I just think Josh Allen and the Bills, they look really good right now. And if you look at Buffalo's schedule, who they have coming up, he's really going to have a chance to solidify himself as the MVP frontrunner because they have the Ravens on Sunday Night Football next week. They also have the Texans coming up and the Jets. So if Allen continues to produce like this against really good teams, then he is definitely going to move his MVP case more to the forefront because it's going to be hard to not give him the award. And then it'll just be what the question always is for spectacular athletes in the NFL, MLB, NBA. Can you do it in the playoffs? And that remains to be seen. But Josh Allen and the Bills looking very good so far, and I think he would be my MVP frontrunner. And the last thing that I want to get into in this video, just very briefly, is the AFC North division. I already talked about the Bengals at the beginning of the video and how disappointing they've been, but I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers because as a football fan watching the Steelers, I can't say that I like watching them play football because they play a very rough and ugly brand of football. They like to win games with their defense, and then their offense is just going to do what they can to basically not lose them the game. They're not going to score a lot of points. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, they're only averaging 17 points per game, like middle of the pack, nothing special. But their defense is averaging they're only giving up 8 points per game, and they're first in yards allowed. So they are not letting anybody score. Falcons week 1, they had the Chargers last week, and then in week 2, they had the Broncos. So not really playing any world beaters on offense yet, but I don't think the opponents are an indication of how good the Steelers defense is because we've seen time and time again Mike Tomlin teams produce very good defenses, and that's just the way the Steelers want to play. It's not exciting to watch. It's not great for fans because I think NFL fans, they want offense. They want as much offense as possible, and that's really what the league wants because all of the rules are catered towards quarterbacks looking really good. They're trying to make offenses look really good. And so the Steelers are kind of breaking the mold, and then they also have a very interesting quarterback situation too, because I feel like you have to keep Justin Fields in there now that the team is 3-0 and Russell Wilson is still trying to overcome an injury, but you can't mess up that camaraderie and take out Justin Fields when he's led your team to 3 straight wins to start the season. And when you look at his stats to see how he's beginning the season, 518 yards, 3 total touchdowns, only 1 interception. Again, nothing monumental, but he's winning you games, so I feel like you owe him the respect of keeping him in there. And so, do I think the Steelers are the best team in the AFC North? No. Through 3 weeks of the season, I'd still say that I would put more faith in the Ravens, even though they haven't looked very good to start the season so far. They just got their first win over the Cowboys on Sunday, and they were up 28-6 in that game. Dallas recovered an onside kick, and they almost blew that. So Baltimore has not looked very good so far. They're still trying to acclimate Derrick Henry into their offense. Lamar Jackson is off to a slow start. And when you look at the Cleveland Browns, this Deshaun Watson situation is crazy. Like, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he has not been good at all since being traded to the Browns. One, he's barely played, so most people will say he hasn't played enough games. But in the games he's played, he's showing no signs that he's going to return to 2019, 2020 style Deshaun Watson. Like, he just has not been good at all. I watched their game against Dallas in week 1 because it was Tom Brady's first game, and I wanted to see how they did. But he just hasn't looked good at all. He just doesn't have the confidence, that feel that he used to have, ultimately that swagger that he had when he was quarterback of the Houston Texans. Because when I watched him on the Texans, he was one of the most exciting players in the league. And now he just looks like a complete shell of himself. And it's not like the Browns don't have talent either. Obviously, Nick Chubb is still recovering from injury. Amari Cooper is a great wide receiver, and their defensive players are just incredible. Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive players or pass rushers I've seen play. Like, he's already that good. Banking in on, like the Hall of Fame is calling his name, because if he continues at this production, he is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. He's already won a Defensive Player of the Year. And so, yeah, when I look at the AFC North, it's a very interesting division right now, because the two teams that people thought were going to be at the top, the Bengals and the Ravens, are both struggling. And when you look at the Browns, it's like, if they don't fix their quarterback situation, you don't really expect them to go anywhere. At least with the Ravens and the Bengals, they have 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 franchise quarterbacks that at some point have shown that they're capable of playing really, really well recently. And you have faith that they're going to bring their level of production up to what they normally give you. But when you're a guy in Deshaun Watson who hasn't done really much of anything since 2019, 2020, almost 4 years now, it's hard to believe that he's all of a sudden just going to revert back to form. So, very interesting division. Do I think the Steelers are the best team? No. I think the Ravens, at the end of the day, are going to win that division. We'll still see. These teams still have to play each other too, so that's going to be interesting for tie-breaking purposes. But yeah, pretty quick video, 3 quick topics. Let me know what you guys think about the Washington Commanders. Do they finally have a franchise quarterback in Jayden Daniels? Do the Buffalo Bills look like the best team in the league right now? They are unbeaten, and they've beaten their opponents by pretty good margins. So they do look like the best team right now, but I'll be interested to see how they look once they start playing better teams. And do you think the Steelers are the best team in the AFC North, or is this just fool's gold to start the season? Because, like I said, 17 points per game on offense, 8 points per game on defense. I don't know how sustainable that is in terms of winning. I think their defense is obviously more likely to sustain their production than the offense, because I don't think you can keep winning games off of defense. They'll continue to play well, but you can't just keep winning games giving up 8 points per game. Like, that's just not sustainable through 17 games. And yeah, those are my 3 topics for this video. And briefly before I end this video, I do know that Derrick Rose retired today, so I am going to be uploading a little short TikTok edit on that, so stay tuned for that. Pretty tough day for basketball fans considering how good Derrick Rose was at his peak. But yeah, that'll be coming pretty soon. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and find the rest of my content linked in the description.